Two bold men who like to be happy and enjoy their lives and do what they want. Do you believe a lot of men out there don't approach because they think they don't have permission to do it? Now, I want to know from you, and I'm pointing like, I want you to join the United States military. No, I want you to tell me what percentage of guys you think out there are just pure afraid and it's just pure approach anxiety, or they don't have permission to approach and they haven't been given a permission to approach.
Damn, bro. Okay, are we just talking about the human population in general, like not people watching this channel?
Men, just
You're
men,
talking about old men.
just men. No, no. But let's specifically talk about young men who have never approached, have never cold approached. There's a lot of men out there apparently that haven't. Is it because you think they don't have permission to, which I'm guessing would be like social
Yes.
conditioning against it, or
Yes.
genuine just like the fear of approach anxiety, which is a different
No.
thing. Those two, I know they overlap, but I don't think a lot of my approach anxiety was necessarily from permission. It was from I'm shit afraid of girls.
Yeah, but you were someone that already understood that as a concept. You asked me the question, the male population, why are they not going out there and talking to women? I honestly think that most of them don't know that this is an option. I think we live in this little bubble here on this channel where we know that we can walk outside and talk to a woman if we find her cute. A lot of you don't know that, like, you don't know how to do that, but to some extent, you know that you can do that.
Guys
you
get
know
on
that
the
is a
apps
permission thing.
and don't know they can ask girls out off the fucking dating
That's what
apps
I mean.
that are designed for
That's
that.
what I mean.
Like you have to build up. Some guys have to build up to the permission to actually message girls on the app. So just match a load of girls and never send a message, because the approach anxiety is like extending to the app, which is crazy. Because like that app is literally everything about that app is like, hey, you can meet people and go on dates. So like that's the point. But I remember when I was on, when back in the day when I first got on them, and it was like, I'm not on here to mess around. I want to meet up. And like signaling yourself as someone who actually wants to meet up was like part of impressive at the time, before they became a little bit more socially acceptable. Because I think I imagine the majority of users were just fucking around or just not messaging because they were scared. So it's I see what you're saying. It's just my personal experience was one of just like pure fear. I never needed permission to talk to girls. I don't think. I just had a pure like innate fear in the back of my mind of like, and maybe there is like you telling me I have permission to, because I was already like clued up with GLL for like I think 6 or 7 years before I met you, and I had never managed to do a cold approach until I met you, because but I'd already been brainwashed into the cult of Chris. So like I was already understanding that I had permission to do this, and there was a whole world out there of like being able to actually go up and talk to girls sober, and in the daytime potentially, if you're that much of a ballsy guy. I told you this before when I spoke to guys. Yeah, I spoke to these guys. I've told Andy the story a ton, so I spoke to guys. And maybe I said it on the channel, but like I had a bunch of friends who were, and to this date, and I've met tons of guys in the community who are incredibly successful. I have yet to meet anyone as successful as my mate I had in Australia. He was like the night game king that I and just a natural, never had to work on it. Just a god, right? He's settled down. I think he's not about the life anymore. But like when I saw him in action, it was insane. But then I met you and we did some stuff, and I went and hung out with him again. And I told him and his friends, who were also kind of not the same level of him, but kind of like they rolled with him and everything, and they went out with him. And I said, oh yeah, I'm doing like daytime. Like I'm talking to girls like in the street or whenever I meet them in like a coffee shop or whatever. And they were like shocked that was like even an option. They were shocked that you could just go out and like see girls and like be like, oh, she's cute, I want to go say hello. Like, because to them, you had to go to a club. You probably had to do like 4 or 5 beers before you went. You had to actually go out and like be like in that mode, in that zone of like the night out where that's acceptable, or like that's a good idea. Whereas doing it in the daytime is just like absurd, almost like unthinkable. So I see your side of it, but like I guess, is there a thing about like where the lack of permission crosses over with approach anxiety? It's not like these two things are divided. Like you not giving yourself permission will affect how much approach anxiety you have. Do you know what I mean? Like you not actually saying to yourself, this is okay, and believing it means that you will have more approach anxiety.
Well, that's one of the techniques that we give people for how to go out there and start saying hi to girls and start hitting on girls, is we literally say, put a sticky note on your front door, and every time you leave the house, you say, I am allowed to talk to girls when I go out today. I don't have to. I'm not going to force myself or push myself, because for some guys that just makes them more nervous. But every time you leave the house, I am allowed to talk to a girl if I see her today and I feel like talking. That permission, that simple statement to yourself of giving yourself permission, I'm allowed to do this, makes all the difference in the world, dude. Like, it
And you
really is just a
described my
permission
ideal.
thing.
I think you described mine and most guys' ideal, which is not going out and sarging and doing
forcing,
sets and like I'm going to do 100 girls. I'm going to go and talk to 100 chicks on the street today or whatever at a train station. I don't think guys, like, when they think of their perfect lives, that has anything to do. Like, maybe there are some, who are really into like the pickup community, those kind of guys who are really into this stuff. But the majority of men, they want to have the courage and the knowledge that they can just talk to her. If they see a girl in like the grocery store, they want to know that they can approach her. That's what they want. They want the knowledge that they are able to do it, and the proof that they have done it before, and the proof that they can take a girl on a date that they've met like in real life, a proof that they can take it for, a proof they could get a relationship with a girl who they met on the street one time, or they met like out and about. They want that feeling of abundance that comes from like, you're not locked down to like your social circle or online dating. They want that from this. That's what they want. They want that freedom. They're chasing freedom. That's what it is. And like, giving yourself permission is just a stepping stone to giving yourself that freedom. Like, and yeah, I think the way I see like having this permission is like being part of having guys in your life that have given themselves this permission already is helpful. Definitely. That's why being in the coaching group is helpful. In our Discord afterwards is helpful. You have an instant access to guys who already think this way, think the same way as you, or the way that you want to think. So I think that definitely helps. Like, definitely get yourself into community or have friends who have this, this ability that you want. That's a good general rule for everything, isn't it? Like, connect with people who have, people who've done the stuff you want to do, and like get what you can from them.
Okay, so to bring it back to the original question that you asked, which is, do I think most men in society, it's just a permission thing, like they don't even know that they are allowed to talk to women? Or is it more of an anxiety thing? I think if we're looking at the general population of men, not people who follow this channel, you all know that you're allowed to talk to women, but general men, I think they genuinely don't know, a huge portion of them don't know that they're allowed to walk up to that girl in the coffee shop and be like, hi, you're cute. Are you single? What are you doing? Like, can I sit with you? They genuinely don't know that. They think it's creepy. They think it's weird. They don't know, in the same sort of vein, that they can walk up to a stranger and be like, hey, bro, like, what are you up to? What's up, man? I'm Andy. Do you want to be bros? Like, they don't know that they can breach social barriers. And I think it's that. I don't think it's so much about like men and women, although there are parts of that in there of like, but what if I creep her out? What if I do something wrong? What if she has a boyfriend and I get stabbed? Like, what if the police come because I harassed a woman by saying hi, hello? And so there's a little bit of that, but I think mostly it's those social barriers that people don't know that they can. Well, you don't know that the social barriers are literally made up. They're illusions. Like, you are allowed to go up to a stranger and be like, hi, what's up? Like, go practice it today and you'll see how bullshit our barriers are that we put between people. And I think the one between men and women is particularly strong for all of the fears around, they're different from me and I don't know how to talk to them. But if you can start to see women as like, well, it's just a person. She has tits, she has a pussy, that's cool. I want to play with those if she wants me to, but she's a person. You just go and talk to her like a person. I think these barriers come down, man. Yeah. So there is anxiety there for sure. But I think the very first barrier or the first hurdle is like, a lot of guys, like you said, your friends, they don't even fucking know that they're allowed to. Like, so many of my friends that I've taught to go and approach women, they were like, I didn't know this was a thing. I thought, like you said, we had to wait until it was a nighttime and we're in a bar or a club and then I can talk to her. But even then I need drinks and I have to work up the courage. I didn't know that cute girl that I see on the escalator, I can just be like, hi, what's up? What are you doing? Riding the escalator. Look at you riding the escalator. Fucking escalator riding bitch. Get in my car. Let's go have a date.
Okay, you made it weird. No, so like,
I've always
given
my best line.
I've always given
best work there.
You're in the cafe, you're sat down, there's a girl sat down like the next table from you. Yes, you can just lean over the back of your chair and be like, hey, what's up? Like, that's completely fine. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, if you're in the queue together and you're in the queue, and that's probably the one that most guys experience is like, you're in some sort of queue or you're waiting for a train and you're like, like next to someone that you think is really attractive, and you
Train station,
should I, and then like you bottle it because you haven't done it before. And by the way, if you just haven't done a lot of this before, bottling it, as I said, or just not doing it because you're afraid, perfectly fine. You need to get exposure therapy, or like we advise you get exposure therapy by doing it, as a program that Andy's written. There are other programs, there's getting someone who's done it before and then getting them to come out and gently push you. Like there's tons of stuff you can do that, like, don't put it all on yourself, and you're not weak because you missed like an opportunity or something like that.
It's like collective trauma from all the women that you didn't talk to. And then you start to build this narrative up about yourself that like, no, I can't talk to women because I've never done it. I've tried a few times and I botch it, or I just can't do it. I must be a pussy, or it's
you
impossible.
Tell yourself you're not a guy who can do that. You tell yourself a story that you're not the guy that does that. And like you've seen your friends who do it. Like you've seen your friends in clubs and bars and stuff. And like, yeah, they're the guys that talk to girls. They're the guys who get the girls. And then you're just like, I'm not that guy. And like you tell yourself that story for years. And that's what you're fighting as well. You haven't given yourself permission to be that guy. That's the other thing. Like a lot of guys, that's why they don't dress edgy. That's why they don't work on their looks. That's why they don't get a good profile, because they have yet to give themselves, a lot of guys who are really early on have not given themselves permission to be a guy that can get girls or will get girls, like all the guys that they've admired or seen or been jealous of before. You have to give yourself permission to chase being that guy. And there are some there are some scary points in that.
And chase is the right word. Like a lot of people will look at that guy, the guy that gets women, or the guy that's just happy and peaceful in his sex life, and they will say that guy as the finished product. They don't even see it as a finished product. They think that guy was just born knowing how to talk to women. And occasionally that's true.
Wasn't he?
But the vast
majority. He just got off a conveyor belt, dressed in a leather jacket like a player, like with like chains on and shit. He's just like, this guy fucks.
He's just always
that kid is like 2 days old. What are you talking about? He's 2 days old. No, that kid's
That's what I mean.
That kid's just going to do it.
We're all products of the journey that we've gone through. And rather than looking at that person and saying, I can't be them, it's like, you don't have to be them. Can you be 0.1% of them? And so if you have a guy that's really good at talking to women, he talks to lots of women each week, he's just chill, all of that. Okay, can I try talking to one woman this month? And maybe all I can do is be like, hi, I like your shoes. And she's like, oh, thanks. And you go, okay, bye. And then you run away. Cool. You did 0.1% of what that supposed player guy does. And so rather than saying I have to do everything he's doing, which is just too much, that's insane. That's probably not the journey that he went on. Just start that first little baby step. And that's all you're giving yourself permission to do. Like I think a lot of guys just overthink how much work they have ahead of themselves, and then they just don't start. Like if you say to the average guy on the street, bro, you're allowed to talk to that girl in the coffee shop, his brain will start thinking of all the things he has to do to make that happen. And what if she doesn't like me and I'm not tall enough and I don't dress good enough? And well, then we'd have to go on a date and I don't know how to have a date. And what if I fuck that up? And then even if the date worked out, like, oh my God, well, I'd have to go back to my place and I don't know how to have sex. And it's like, calm the fuck down. Can you just tell her that she has nice eyes or nice shoes, or just say hi and then leave?
We've all turned that computer on Monday morning and just looked at like the whole fucking week/month's worth of work and just been like, no, and then procrastinated for like 4 hours because it's like, I don't even want to start this. This is overwhelming me. So yeah, those feelings of overwhelm that I think everyone can relate to. As long as you've been out and done something like university, like a job, you understand that feeling of overwhelm. And it's exactly the same with this journey, or with any journey that's difficult in self-improvement. Same thing. Stepping in the gym for the first time, very overwhelming, very too much sensual overload. Sensual overload is a wrong. Sensual overload sounds like something that you would do.
Sensory overload, not sensual overload. They probably want
that does sound
overload.
Like something that you do with your kink partners.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not even joking. There is something called sensual overload, but it's called overstimulation. So yes, this is
I know what overstimulation is. Yeah. Overstimulation.
Let's wrap up.
Well, that happens biologically. Sorry, we're not going to get to like sex talk.
Yeah, we're not going to deviate to sex talk. Let's wrap up and maybe give like one piece of advice each on a guy that's on the fence. Like he knows he wants to go and talk to girls, but he feels that freaking hesitation. So what would you say to that guy?
The first baby step you take is leaving your house with the intention of talking to a girl. That is the only real first step, because in your mind you're saying, I'm leaving my house to do this. which is actually a step ahead of what most guys do, because most guys are they walk into like the situation that they where they want to talk to girls, but they were unprepared because they haven't told themselves, I'm a guy who can do this. So just start by telling yourself, I'm a guy who can do this. I'm going to go outside, and my intention is to talk to a girl I don't know. That I find attractive. That's all your goal is. And I don't care what you say. As long as you could just say hi and run away. I don't care. Like, we're talking baby steps at this point. And you don't even have to say hi. You just have to be like, I said, the intention is actually what we want. We just want you to get outside in it with a new frame of mind. That's the most baby step, because like everything else is a little bit too little. Like, just like, right, if I could get you to write down in a notebook, it's not enough. I think you need to actually leave the house. I think you need to get beyond your private dwelling into public. And then even if you spent like 15 minutes, that's probably the minimum as well. Go walk around where people are for 15 minutes, locate, like, with a rough idea of where you'd find attractive girls. I think that would be a viable first step for someone who's just really anxious and struggling with the idea of this.
You use the word intention. I would say intention is permission. It's the same thing. Like, you're saying, I have permission to go out there and just think about this and like actually start the steps to make this happen. I think a lot of guys will read about this stuff and they have some conceptual idea of what it would be like to talk to a woman. But they haven't really set the intention. They don't have the willingness yet. They're like, no, that's not me. I'll read about other people doing it, but it's not me. So walk around 15 minutes.
I would also say make it easy for yourself. If you have this idea in your head, like a lot of guys do, that it's only acceptable to go to a bar and do this, go to a bar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can go with you can go with like whatever you find acceptable in your head first, because social freedom comes slowly, in my opinion. You have to do a lot of stuff. Like, you don't really gain the social freedom. I remember talking to Scotty about this, and Scotty was talking about the crazy stuff that he would do to gain the social freedom that he has. Sorry, if people don't know who Scotty is, you should if you're watching this. But like, basically, like, these guys who have crazy social freedom, they like did a lot of shit, but they ramped up, build up to it. So like, you start out with the stuff that you find kind of easy, but in your mind anyway. But it would still be a gigantic step forward. Like, if you went to a bar and talked to a girl, for me, I always found bars scarier than I ever found, like, talking to a girl in a shopping center or in a cafe or something like that. I don't know what that is. There's something more intimidating about nightlife. But I was more comfortable in the nightlife as well. And I still found it incredibly intimidating. Probably because my friends were always around. That might have been the reason. That was maybe the reason my friends would say. But intention and permission. Start there.
Go out there, start there, give yourself that intention and that permission. Thanks for hanging out there with Cam and I. And if you would like direct access to Cam and to myself to be your personal coaches, along with Ed and Taylor and all the other members of the coaching group, right now is the perfect time. If you sign up in the next couple of weeks, you'll get $2,000 off the usual price, and you'll get an extra 4 weeks. Again, that is just for the next couple of weeks. I'll leave a link down below. You can jump on a free call with me. We can talk about your goals, what you want to achieve, how I and the other coaches can help you and push you to that greatness. Like I said, you get direct one-on-one access to me, Cam, Ed, and Taylor. We will push you to be the absolute best that you can be.